Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stitching Tales, a podcast about all things sewing and also what goes on behind the scenes of running a sewing business. I am Johanna Lundström and I am the owner of The Last Stitch, where I provide sewing books, sewing patterns, and I run a YouTube channel and all other things around sewing and sewing education.
And my name is Malena, and I am a freelance pattern maker. And I also create a PDF pattern under the name Hazelhen Patterns.
And we also have created one sewing book together as well, Fit for Knits. So in today,
book baby.
Yeah, we have one book baby and another one in the making that I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about today's episode as well, because we like to do some catch-up episodes ever now and then, because there is also things going on behind the scenes. So today we have a few things actually that has been going on. Maybe I should start with my main things, because I am just before we started recording this podcast, I was busy finishing the projector files. Yes, I'm actually doing a projector file for my new pattern, because tomorrow, which is this episode is released. This episode is released, my new sewing pattern, Vide knit pants, is out. So I'm doing like the last minute work of doing a pattern release. So now I'm trying to figure out the projector file thing, because I'm going to offer that as well on top of a regular PDF file and the copy shop file. So yeah, it's a little bit of technology stuff that goes on behind the scene. But you, Malena, you have done that before, right? Doing projector files.
Yeah, for the Malva tea, a free pattern that you get when you sign up for my newsletter, that one has a projector file. It was the first one I did. And I mean, the thing with doing something new is like, it feels like a mountain of work to do. But actually when you break it down, like the projector file, it's not that complicated, which was such a release when I realized it, because usually things, when you think like this is going to be so easy, and then it just adds on and add on and add on, and it just becomes a massive project. But projector file, no, that was actually pretty easy. So like, thankfully, like one thing that was actually a little bit more easier than I thought it would be. So yeah, I have done one projector file, and I will do projector file for all the other patterns sometime in the future. I don't want to give a deadline on that one.
Yeah, same here. As you know, from start, as you said, it looks quite simple compared to what I had imagined as well. And as with lots of things that you have to learn new, it's not very smart of me that I've been procrastinating doing the projector file until like 24 hours before I'm releasing the pattern, because everything else has been done for ages, but I've just postponed the projector files. And now what it looks like, I think it will be done in about an hour after we record this podcast. So yeah, it definitely was a lot easier. And we had this conversation way back on another episode that we both realized that a projector file is a thing in the sewing community. You also presented some staggering numbers in that Facebook group. Also, how many was it? 70,000 or something like that?
70-something thousand. Yeah. So I mean, obviously there's an audience for this. So yeah, definitely want to provide one.
Yeah, so we are trying to keep up with the developments in the sewing world for sure. So sometimes we like to complain, because sometimes it's just so many things that one has to learn, and just to give you all your listenings a little bit like the behind the scenes of what goes into releasing a pattern. It's so many moving parts that you might not even think about. I mean, not just, of course, designing the pattern and doing the product development. Then there's so much like configuration that goes into creating the sizes, and we also do like layered PDFs. So it means that every layer, every single size is separate layers. So when you print it out, you can pick just one size, so you won't get confused by all the lines and all the markings. But just doing that work on I think about 16 sizes, that takes a lot of time, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong. So what I'm going to do this afternoon, after finish the projector file is that I'm going to do one final check where I just look closely at each separate layer to ensure that all the pieces are on all the layers and that all the lines are consistent, because I use different lines markings for each side, so it's easier to see. So that's like the final check until I like upload it to the file server that will send it out when you get the pattern. So there are lots of like last minute moving parts when you're doing a sewing pattern, and proofreading the instructions and everything like that. So I've been working on this pattern for I think maybe 6 months or so. Not all the time, obviously, because then I would have released it much sooner. But that goes to show, I'm impressed by those companies. They of course have a larger staff, but a lot of bigger sewing pattern companies now have this sewing pattern membership where they release at least 1 or 2 pattern each month. And I'm sure they have a very good workflow and a production team. But I don't think any one of these companies have any like substantial size in terms of staff. I don't think so anyway. So I'm pretty impressed that businesses have managed to crank out, with all the production development and testing sizing and everything like that. I mean, aren't you like blown away by that speed as well, Malena?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just, and I thought like when you said that it took you about 6 months to develop this, I mean, that's pretty fast compared to all the previous patterns, right?
Yeah. I don't, sometimes, I mean, I think at least, I think the first leggings pattern was quite quick, but the other ones has been, at least 6 to 1 year maybe. I don't know. I probably keep forgetting how long it takes. It's funny because I create this like folder system on the computer where I have, and I use like seasons, so it's spring or fall, like pattern collection, the year and the spring or fall. And it's so funny because every folder is named one season before. So so for instance, the AV cardigan, which I released in the fall, I think, of 2021, it's in the folder spring 2021, and the same goes for the girly top. That was in the folder of fall 2021, but it ended up being spring 2022. And of course now the Vide pants is in the spring folder for 2024. So I think if anyone wonders, what's a good rule of thumb when it comes to a timeline for a project, I always double the amount. I think that's a good estimate. So if I say something is going to take me 6 months, it will probably be a year. So.
Yeah, and that's a tricky part. I mean, because we obviously don't work full time on developing these projects. We have other things that take our time, and I mean, you haven't even been working full time with your company for the last years. So I mean, obviously you just can't spend all your time on developing the patterns. But it would be interesting to see, like, if we would just work on getting out PDF patterns, like how quick would we then be? We wouldn't have to do any social media, any of those things, any other distractions. Like how fast could you actually be developing a pattern? It would be interesting to see how much actual time you spend on it.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. What are your thoughts about that? If you didn't have to do any other type of work related to your business or otherwise, I think what do you think from start to finish? What would you estimate if you work full time on it?
I mean, then it would be a matter of a few months, weeks, something, in between there. I'm just thinking like how, I mean, you can't really compare it. Like when I do freelance work for other companies, I don't do any sample sewings, and I don't do like sewing instructions. I don't do any illustration for the sewing instruction. I don't take pictures of how to make anything. But like just compare how fast I can crank out a pattern there with those kind of patterns to production and do the M charts and everything. Like for those, it's a completely different it's like you can't compare them because then I can, depending obviously on the styles, but I can make a pattern and do grading and measurement chart in like half a day. I can send out a ready done pattern. But I mean, obviously, yeah, I don't do any sewing instruction, anything like that. So it's just like I have that mindset when I do my own pattern as well, like how fast should it be? And it's like, no, I just need to, you know, forget about that. Like you can't compare it. It's two completely different products.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have. You have that comparison, like it should be a lot faster.
Yeah, you definitely your mind plays tricks with you. I totally get that, and you, and also I mean we're just talking now about the instructions and the sewing pattern. I mean, instruction is a completely different skill from doing the actual pattern, and of course the instructions that goes otherwise takes either take a lot of photos or doing illustrations, which is what we are both doing these days. So that takes a lot of time, and then compiling them, and also, you know, like adding measurement charts and for garment, and, you know, cutting layouts, you know, estimating how much fabric requirement that goes on for each size. So just these small things add up to a lot of time. And then, of course, sewing samples. I mean, first, when you develop the pattern, you have to sew samples, which obviously you don't have to do if you're part of a larger, like, fashion production situation where you have the garment sewers and you have, you know. And I guess if you run a bigger sewing company, I'm pretty sure that these roles are much more divided, and maybe you use a freelancer for some of the pattern making, and then maybe some other person do the sample sewing, for instance. And then, of course, you have to, which is usually the Achilles heel, is the marketing. I mean, first of all, you have to sew, like, after you develop the pattern, you have to, first of all, sew really nice, beautiful looking photo samples. And that takes a lot of time as well, and a lot of us also do sew-alongs on the blog, which I've done. So I can't just sew samples, I also have to take pictures of them, and now I'm going to write instructions so that apart from the sewing instructions, you will also follow along on the blog. Video content, I think it's going to be bigger and bigger as well. And then, of course, you have the photo shoot for all the marketing and the pattern cover. So you have to fix all that, and maybe, you know, enlist the help of a photographer, and, you know, it's so many things. And then you have to be in all the places, right? You have to prepare for social media, for Instagram, for Facebook, YouTube if you do that, and of course also on the blog, newsletter, which is my biggest sales channel, so I have to provide content for that as well, and just think like marketing big. Some companies, sewing companies, also works a lot with sewing influencers, and that I'm sure takes a lot of time as well. You know, prepping for a launch and having those to sew samples and beforehand, so that they have even more content and like a bigger promotional machine. And there are so many other things that, just to give you an idea, when you talk about, you know, releasing a pattern, the actual pattern drafting is such a small part of releasing a pattern, right?
Yeah. No, actual pattern construction, that's like the quickest task in this whole process. But now, when you are launching Vide trousers, what are your plans with the marketing? How are you working?
Yeah, so I started, because like with most things, it comes in spurts. I began rolling out content on Instagram last week, some sneak peeks, and also some tutorial tips that are related to the knit pants, just to get a little bit momentum on Instagram as well, because if I don't post much, of course I get less traction. So I've done a couple of posts, not necessarily 100% related to this video pants, but at least, you know, to get some momentum on the platform. And I also sent out a newsletter last week with some tips for how to sew an elastic waistband, which I also did an Instagram post that did extremely well with tips that reached far beyond my own audience. And I repurposed that content for a newsletter with some tips on how to sew elastic waistband. And in that email, I also showed some sneak pictures of the pants, just to warm up the audience slightly. And of course, we have mentioned it on the podcast as well, which obviously is marketing as well. And we're definitely going to link to the pattern because you will be able to get these pants once this episode is out, unless everything implodes, but hopefully not.
Don't jinx it.
yeah, I should. I feel a little bit hesitant not saying it, but it's good to have some fire, burning
of course,
as well.
Yeah.
So I think those are the things, but I think the one I need to be very mindful of this time, I have I think a lot of people, I tend to do a lot of marketing upfront, and then I don't really have a good solid plan for keeping the momentum going. So that's what I'm going to do this time. So I'm going to work a lot with video as well. So I'm going to do a lot of mobile content, like videos and me modeling, and share some tutorials and stuff like that. So if this time, and we're definitely going to keep me accountable, I'm going to keep marketing this pattern in different forms all October, because I have to do that. And that's the hard part, keeping the momentum going. It's hard because sometimes mentally...
Yeah, are you making a sew along as well on the blog? Yeah,
I'm doing sew along on the blog, and I'm also going to do some video content on YouTube, showing a few of the things. I think I'm going to do a waistband tutorial, for instance, and probably something else as well. We'll see. I usually don't do a sew along video because I don't get enough. Most people that watch YouTube don't know of me. They just want a specific tutorial. So what I do is that I show something that can be useful for doing my pattern, but it's also like a general tutorial. So that's like a way in. And I'm listing things just now. I might not be able to do all this stuff, but I feel like if I'm going to do this well, and I need to do all this stuff, and it's hard because last time I released the pattern, it was over 2 years ago. So it's you lose some traction, you lose some audience. So it's always difficult to start again, I think.
Yeah, it's just that getting started again, and I think it's a great. I think it's a great way of also, because people learn in different ways and people read instructions in different way, and having tutorials, video tutorials, I think that is super for a lot of people that maybe are not so used to sewing. That is like you learn so much by watching somebody do it. Looking just at pictures might be difficult for beginners. So I think it's such a service, great service to add tutorials on how to sew it, and of course it doesn't just apply for the Vide trouser. You can make these techniques can be applied on any knitted trousers. So it's a great to learn different techniques.
Yeah. So it's very true. I think it's super helpful, and I would say. But probably the most effective marketing, which neither of us really do right now, is to use influencers, right? I think if you're going to be smart.
But no, we're not there yet.
Yeah, because I think everyone that has success and gets a lot of tractions, they have influential people sewing their garments, either in a paid situation or a trade situation, or maybe just because they like the patterns. But that is the best way to get yourself out of your core audience. And we have talked about this earlier as well, but it's a tricky thing to navigate. But honestly, I think if you're gonna if someone is listening now and thinking about starting a sewing pattern company, of course the product has to be really, really good and solid, and have styles that appeals to a larger audience. But you have to be seen, and honestly, the best way to become seen is to have other people with a larger audience sewing your stuff.
Yeah, and this whole marketing plans you have for Vide trousers, it sounds like time consuming. How is your work time situation at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually happy to say, because you mentioned that in the beginning, you know, that we all do these on the sides, right? Out of other works and jobs. And yeah, so today officially is my first day of my leave of absence from my day job. So I'm actually taking a 6-month break.
So we should have champagne.
Yeah, we should have champagne, right? I don't know. Cheers, I'll have a coffee mug here. Cheers. Yeah, we should have done that. But we can celebrate along with you listeners that, yeah. And if you have followed me for a longer time in any of my media, you know that this is not my first rodeo when it comes to, it's a lot of stops and starts, off and ons. It's never a straight success story. So I've done several videos and blog posts about this. Well, you know, that I sometimes take breaks from my various day jobs just to get some free space to work on the last day full time. So I'm finally able to do this financially again. So I have enough runway to sustain myself and have a salary for 6 months. So yeah, that's why I can be so ambitious now. And of course, that's not the only project, right, Malena? Because we have other things to do as well, right, during this period, which we also have talked about in another episode. A tiny little baby.
Not start a new book?
Yeah.
When you're busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't listened to the episode, we highly recommend you go back. But we also are in the throes. So Malena has already come a long way. But so far, my contribution to this book has been 0. At least for tangible
well,
accomplishment.
You came up with the idea and the concept and everything. That is pretty huge as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, that was my so far my only contribution. But yeah, we're going to do a book about sewing t-shirts with sewing patterns, which we are very, very exciting paper patterns, which we haven't done before. So, and I have not done a book with sewing patterns, and I get asked. I think every book I've released, apart from the cover stitch machine, I've got questions if there are any pattern included. I'm so happy now to say that in this book that we are doing together, yes, we actually include paper patterns. So we should mention, if you haven't listened to the episode, but we're doing a sewing pattern book about t-shirt patterns with 4 different styles that we have identified. So Malena, you could give the listeners a brief review of all the things that you can expect from the patterns in that book.
Yeah, so the patterns are very different silhouettes. We try to cover as many as possible with these 4. So it's a really tight-fitted t-shirt, and a more regular fitted t-shirt, an oversized t-shirt, and then a raglan t-shirt as well that is a little bit more on the more loose fit. So yeah, really looking forward to start or continue working with that. I've done the patterns for it because my Lectra Motorist license expired. That's my pattern program that I'm using. So it's good to have deadlines, because whenever you have deadlines, you magically somehow are almost always able to keep them. It's just that, you know, that mental, I need to get it done, I'll do it. But I think until next time that I'm continue working with this, it's gonna take a little while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've rushed to get it done because the license expired. The program expired in September for me. So at the moment I don't have it anymore. I'm feeling a little bit sad about that. But yeah, now we have some great pattern files that we can continue working on in Illustrator when we actually create the actual patterns. So yeah, it's we have come quite far.
Yeah, I mean the most important thing is Yeah, exactly. But we have. I mean, the most important thing is done, like the sewing patterns. Those are already developed and done. And my contribution to this book will be primarily, of course, the book design, but also doing the sewing instructions. And we're also going to have various pattern hacks, so on how you can alter these, like basic styles. So it's going to be a lot of content for sure, and this is not just a book with patterns, it's also going to help you sew your best t-shirt ever, because we're going to be so meticulous about the sewing instruction and give you lots of extra tips and everything like that. So that's why I'm really, really psyched about this book as well, because I think a lot of people will get like new aha moments where they're, oh yeah, that's such a great way of doing it, and doing it that way I can minimize these issues. So that's what gets me like excited. And also, of course, once we've sewn the samples, and we're going to have some really nice photo shoot with some awesome models. So it's going to be like, my idea right now for the design is going to be almost like an high-end fashion magazine, but with instructions as well, and inspiring photos and illustrations for how to do the pattern hacks. So I really want that when you get the book, you're going to really get that like nice, like high-end feel of both the book and of course the patterns as well. So that's my like vision. I haven't really, it's the book design is only in my head right now, but I'm very excited to start doing that as well, because that's also one of the things that I really, really enjoy, like getting the format and the style of the book as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really a lot of fun working with this project. But you have another project before this project as well?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's good that you can work on this like full time now on your own company, because you have a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
a lot of big projects going on.
Yeah. Because as always, I have no managed like to get like bite-sized stuff. So I'm also, as a long-time listener to the podcast probably knows as well, that I've been working on this video course for how to sew jeans, from start to finish. And I filmed all the material this summer, but it's on my hard drive now, waiting to be edited. And of course, doing voiceovers and illustrations and graphics and talking heads and stuff like that. So, and I want to release this course in November. So we'll see what my mode will be in for the holidays. Is gonna be pretty exhausting, but I feel right now, I mean, famous last words, but I feel really, really good right now. And people that follow me, and if you listeners follow me, you know that it's a struggle. I struggle sometimes, with, looking into the famous wall and burnout and stuff like that. But it's so nice to have like a positive and good energy mode, because I really feel that right now. I don't feel stressed about all the stuff I need to do. I feel excited about them. I feel much more motivated to put myself out there again, to be more present on social media, which is another thing that if I get too exhausted, I need to pull back, because it's very taxing to be like a public figure when you are like a little bit tired, right? So I don't know exactly how things will pan out. And again, with the jeans course, maybe I won't finish it in November. Who knows? I mean, but then it's going to be released, after the new year for sure. So I'm taking baby steps. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. But I feel like I have this. Maybe I should jinx it again. But I feel like if I'm able to pull all these projects pull off all these projects, I definitely think I have how should I say this? I feel maybe that if I can do the book and the jeans course and maybe one other like flagship project, I think I honestly will be able to sustain myself full time for several years to come. Maybe not forever again, but I think I have the potential of doing that. So that's also what keeps me motivated now, that I feel like I can do that push to not have to juggle all these jobs just to pay rent and stuff. I hope that my prediction is right this time. Who knows? But yeah, I have that feeling right now.
Yeah, that's a great motivational goal, like really. And I mean, it's tangible. Like you can feel it all almost. Like It's just these projects, huge projects, but still like, you know you can do this project. It's just a matter of time and when it will be done. But it's like you have done similar things before, so you can do it. So yeah, that sounds like a really interesting, a very fantastic goal, a fantastic vision to have.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I feel so, and I think if I have one final project that would definitely like kick me over that hump, it would be doing a more extensive cover stitch course, because I do have a video course, Cover Stitch Success, which is a shorter course, but it's very straight to the point about troubleshooting and how to do the best settings and everything when you're using a cover stitch machine. But I could also do a similar course like I'm doing with jeans now, that it's more extensive and also shows instruction for the 5-thread cover stitch machine or the top cover stitch machine that is more common today. So if I'm able to do that as well, but that's going to be like a year project as well. So if after the book, I think I will do that one. And if I'm able to pull that one off as well, then I think I will be able to sustain myself. But it's also interesting to know how much stuff that goes into just sustaining one single person, right? I mean, I have 4 sewing books as we speak. I have I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 sewing patterns. I have a video course, and I have like a pretty successful YouTube channel that I get ad revenue from. And I also have some ad revenue from my website. But it's pretty fascinating to see how, and I'm still only able to take a part-time salary.
But I think that is like such an important topic, and I've seen it on Instagram now. A few other bigger brands are talking about it and being really like honest and open about that. No, you can't just create a first PDF pattern and then move to Bali because all the money that is coming in. Like, no, the reality, no, it doesn't work like that. I think it's like such a great topic, because it is like very. You try to sell like, go to this course and you will create your first PDF pattern and you will be financially like sustainable for the rest of your life. Like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't work at all like that. There's so much hard work behind it, and I mean, you have been working within this sewing content creation with how many years now?
So in the current iteration since 2016, but I started my blog in 2008, and I've done other businesses before that, sewing related. Yeah, so it's going on 16 years.
Yeah,
off and on.
So it's very. I mean, of course, it can happen with first PDF pattern successes, and but these overnight successes, it's unicorn businesses. Like, no, it doesn't happen to. It doesn't happen that often, and it's also good for like to hear other people talk about it. It's like, okay, it's not just me who struggle to keep it up. I mean, my own sewing business, PDF pattern business, I barely make even. I mean, obviously, I don't spend a lot of time on it at the moment. I have a lot of freelance work. That's where my 100% source of income. Like, that's how I'm able to have a salary. My PDF pattern, it's a side project, fun passion project that I still want to continue doing, but financially it doesn't really make sense, to be honest, which is a little bit sad. Yeah. But yeah, it's a passion project. So just if you are thinking about creating your own PDF pattern, absolutely go for it, but have realistic ideas of the financial situation. It's not a guarantee financial success.
Yeah. So many great points you bring up there as well, Malena. And we should also say that our first episode on this podcast was "Sewing Won't Make Us Rich," and now we're 30 episodes in of this podcast, and we haven't really made all that much money since then.
I forgot that.
So keeping it real. You bring up so many good points, and you also have to think about the mathematics of stuff. I mean, I think for most digital sewing patterns, I think the price range is maybe 12 to 16 US dollars or similar in euro. I mean, sometimes less, sometimes more. So you just do the math, right, on how much you have to sell. And then you also have fees either to your own online store and the payment facilities such as PayPal, or if you're using Etsy, they take, I think, a large chunk, maybe 10% or more. So just do that and do the math on how many sewing patterns you have to sell one single sewing pattern to be able to actually like quit your day job or do this full time. I think maybe, I know, because I saw some numbers, I think when the indie sewing pattern kind of boom happened, which was in the late or I think it's called like before the 10th, like I think it started around 2009, 2010 maybe. I think Colette Patterns was one of the first one, which is now Seamworks, because they were prolific bloggers and they had already a huge audience, and there weren't all that many other independent sewing companies, and they how should I say it? They provided a fresh perspective, and they had really good sewing instructions. So they were, different, perhaps than a lot of the traditional sewing companies, and I think that there were some tractions for a couple of pattern companies that started in the early 10th. I don't. What do you say in English? Like the 20s, but how do you say the 10th? Or
yeah, I have no idea.
The first, the second decade of the 2000. Anyways, there were some patterns, and I think I saw some numbers of, I think what's Till on the Buttons said, son, and she sold literally thousands, I think, of one of her earliest sewing patterns. But for most part, you won't sell 1,000 sewing patterns. I think if you're really, really lucky, you're going to sell 100 sewing patterns. I mean, honestly, and then you can do the math. So it's not even one month's salary for at least you live in like a high cost countries that we are doing. I mean, it's nothing. It's literally nothing.
Yeah, and this is like, you should never start, I mean, this is general business advice, it's like never start a company because of the money, like you want to get rich. It's like you have to be passionate about the product, because it is going to be a struggle along the way, and without that passion for the thing that you do, like, you're not going to last.
No.
So yeah, passion about what we do, that's definitely a requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be another motivator. I totally agree with you. And having this like creative form of expression that you can use, and when we have our day jobs, we are always in the hands of what our employers, or even if you're doing freelance work, you have to do as a contract, you have to do what the one that is hiring you expects you to do. So you don't have all that freedom, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why we love doing what we do, because we have this, like, we own the entire product and all the steps, and we can do things that we care about that maybe we are not able to do in our day job. So I think especially for sewing pattern, I mean, that's basically a creative outlet, I would say, rather than like a business, like a strong business idea. I make more money off my books as well than I do from my sewing pattern, for sure. So I do sewing patterns because I love them. I love designing clothes.
No, and just looking at sewing pattern as a business model, like you create something once and it's a digital project, so you can sell it numerous times without you actually having to do something. That business model I love. That is, I mean, such a great business idea. So that's also why, like, I want to do it, because it's, even if I create something now, it's still going to be relevant in a few years. I'm still going to be able to sell it. It's like, in that sense, a passive income, but it's nothing passive about it.
No.
I mean, you have to do marketing and everything, but it's that concept that I really do enjoy. But this jeans course, have you done all the filmings for it? Is it just editing now, or are you going to film something more even?
Yeah, I'm going to film some more. I'm going to film the talking heads where I like present the course and everything, and that because the filming of the instruction I could do myself, but I need to get help to do that. So I'm going to try to film that in October, or probably, time. I don't know where the time is going. Oh, I'm just realizing the math ain't mathing here.
A lot of things happening in October.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. No, yeah. But the plan is that, I need to do that. And I also will, I think, because there's so many things you can do to a pair of jeans. So I basically now settled for doing a course, and then I will do updates on that course. So, I mean, the course that I will be releasing will show you how to sew jeans from start to finish, but there are a couple of add-ons and specific techniques that I won't be able to include if I will be able to release this now. So a lot of other type of sewing belt loops maybe, and slightly different variations. I think I will do that as an add-on later on and just get the course out there, because otherwise if I start to think about all the other things that I could show when it comes to sewing jeans, all the adaptations and everything, it's gonna be another year. So I think this is where I don't need to film a lot more material. I think maybe I have a couple of things on my list maybe I should do, but yeah, apart from that it's all
What are your thoughts on November? Why do you want to release it then? Yeah,
because I think November is a good month. I think in December we won't. There's so much other stuff going on during the holidays. So I don't think there will be a lot of people, doing being into sewing. Otherwise, and now maybe I'm thinking maybe I should wait. So if I can't release it early November, I won't release it. That's the thing, because otherwise I will wait until I think February. It's actually, whereas a lot of other sewing business, a lot of other businesses have slow month. I've noticed, at least myself, and I don't know how you listeners are doing, but I noticed that there is an interest in sewing at the beginning of a year as well, and I usually do quite well with sales in February and March. So if I'm not able. Oh, January, yeah, definitely.
Or is everyone poor after the holidays?
Yeah, maybe. No, but I definitely do well in January, but I think February and March are normally well-performing months for me. Have you seen any patterns in your sorry for the pun, not intended.
Yeah, no, the few pattern pieces the few patterns that I sell, it's so small, like I can't say like this is a good month or a bad month. It's too small for that. But just for my own buying, or what I hear in business in general, January is usually a very tough month, because people buy a lot of gift cards in December, and then customers uses the gift cards in January, so it's not like a slow financial month in that sense for businesses, because everything happened in December, so it's a little bit like a backlash in January. I don't know if it's true, and obviously it can depend what kind of business you have, but those are the tendencies that I have heard about.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's the same with ad revenue and things like that, goes down very, very steeply, or go down a lot in January. So yeah, slow month for sure. And of course also because it's a lot of spending. I think those that celebrate some type of holiday in December, they definitely, usually tend to put a lot of money on gifts and celebrations and food and drinks, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's no wonder that people, talk about being slightly cash poor in January. That makes a lot of sense. And I just think that the hit in the sewing business is a little bit less, because you usually have ideas, to start off some new projects, because that's also the new year, a little bit like that, when you have, so what I'm going to sew in 2025. So yeah, it doesn't hit as much on my sales.
But
yeah, it's definitely
and the beautiful thing here is you are on your own deadlines now, your own timeline. You can decide whatever, and you can pivot if you need to, and you are in control of that. So that's the best benefit about having your own business, that it's up to you basically.
Yeah, you're very right, and I need to remember that as well. And also, as I already have the financial, I have enough money in my business account, so I can take a full-time salary, so I don't have to release the jeans pattern to get more cash flow. It would definitely help. But if it's postponed a couple of months, it's not the end of the world. Like with everything else. I mean, my last cover stitch, the cover stitch course, I filmed and released it 12 months after I filmed it. so that's just to see how fast things are going here. But that's also because we're doing all the stuff ourselves. We don't have a team behind us. We have to do all the things. I mean, we are our own production team, whatever we're doing. So.
And are you going to work with YouTube? Because I know that's a big channel for you. How are you? What are your thoughts about that now when you have so much time?
Yeah, so much time, right? I have so much time. I can only see now I'm painting myself into a corner. Again, still, I'm 52 years old and I still have no time management understanding. I'm definitely gonna pull more effort onto YouTube as well, for sure. And the good thing now is, of course, that because I filmed the jeans course, I also have a lot of video content. So to warm up after I've done, like, as I said now, content regarding sewing knit pants, I'm going to move over to doing content about sewing jeans and get some traction over there. And then it's a good thing because I can use a lot of pre-filmed content and do some smaller tips and stuff like that on YouTube. I do have a lot of jeans videos already, but I can definitely update that and do some more content. So I'm trying to work smart that way. And as we talked about in another episode, I also need to do a lot more mobile friendly content. So for instance, I have these troubleshooting guides for cover stitch machine. That's a PDF, but I'm gonna offer do a mobile version as well, so you can just look on the mobile with the tips as well. So it's so much stuff, and it's like it's when you're trying to run a big business, but you're like one person.
But here I'm really curious for the audience now who is listening, because I think probably quite a lot of them are also following you on YouTube, and if you don't, you should definitely do it because there are so many tutorials there already. But I'm curious, like, what do you want to see from Johanna on YouTube? Like, is it those, because you used to have like those casual chats on like Sunday, just Q&A
live streams,
live streams, is it those you want to see more of, or is it actual tutorials, or like, I'm curious to know what are people most looking forward to. So you can either write a comment in our YouTube channel here or on our Instagram. I always forget what is the name.
Stitching Tales Pod, yes, with one D. On both the YouTube and the Instagram is Stitching Tales Pod. We highly recommend that, and of course also if you hop over to YouTube, you can see the video version as well on the... because obviously we are doing video, so I think I've shown it before, but I will hold up now if you're watching the video version. Also, one of the samples of the Vide pants, so you can see. I should definitely plug them as well. So this is a sewing pattern that are made for knit pants, stable knit pants. You can use Ponte di Roma, you can use French terry, you can use sweatshirt fabric, you can use felted wool. I did one of those and it looks almost like a woven pants. And what I really like about this one is it has, the best of two worlds, basically. So it's super comfortable. And if you're watching the video version, you can see that it has an elastic waistband. So when it stretches out, it lies really nice and flat on the body. It has front pockets. And they're sewn very stylishly. So you can see they're very, they almost look like dress pants. So if you get this pattern, you're going to learn a really awesome technique of, if I say so myself, I think the pockets looks really, really nice, right? Malena, can you back me up on this one?
Absolutely, yeah. They look really polished.
And also, thank you. And also on the sample I'm holding up now, you have the option of doing like stitch pin tucks, so in the front. So I've done that on this version. It's very easy, and I show this as again in the instruction and also as a sew along. And also in the back, The pants have darts, and this made a huge difference because it really gives beautiful shaping to the bum. You get rid of that slightly extra fabric that you might otherwise get even on knit pants. So I think that was a good addition. And if you are nervous about sewing darts on knit, don't worry, I have you covered. There are instructions, of course, in the sewing instructions, but also there's sew along, and I also have a separate post about how to sew darts with knits. And if you get our fantastic book Fit for Knits, there are also different instructions on how to sew darts on knits. So this is what I really like about this pattern. I think if you have never sewn trousers before, I think this is going to be such a good starter pattern, because you're going to do like detailing, like slanted front pockets and darts, but it's still it's a project that you can finish very easily, even if you haven't sewn any pants before. So I think this is a really good like introduction onto more dressier pants on woven, but it's gonna be, because there are pull-ons, so there's no zipper. So I think once you get going, when I got going sewing all the samples, I think I was able to, after cutting and prepping, I could definitely sew it maybe in a 4 or 5 hours time, for sure, with a lots of like taking it slow. So it's definitely a project you can do these pants, and I think in a matter of days you will have them finished, because of the fact that it's knits and not woven. So that's why I'm really excited. And so they're not released now, so I can't give you any numbers speaking of sales, but yeah, we're definitely going to update later on to see how this sewing pattern, if it was a hit or a flop. Who knows? That's also another thing you don't know, right, Malena? We can spend 6 months, 2 years developing a sewing pattern, and we honestly have no idea.
Yeah,
what,
that's a scary part.
What are your thought process around that? Have you any what makes you decide to do a sewing pattern?
No, the biggest, it has to be something that I want to do. It has to be something that I want to wear, because I'm gonna make a lot of samples sewing. I need to be able to wear it then. It can't be just a trend for the sake of following a trend, and I don't really like it. No, it has to be something that aligns with my aesthetic and something I want to do, because otherwise you're gonna get tired of it, because it is a long process. So you have to really like it, love it, so you are able to finish the whole project.
Yeah.
That's my thought process.
yeah, but obviously, because as you know, we've hinted here, it can take us years before, from the idea to actually getting a pattern out there. So you have to definitely enjoy it and really love it. And I guess that's also why we both have specialized in more timeless styles. We don't really do trendy styles, because obviously that will be an issue as well. Because if we were trying to jump on the latest trend, by the time our pattern is out.
Yeah, that trend train has passed already then, so yeah. Can't work like that. I do that on my freelance work, yes, but not on my own.
No. Yeah, you definitely have to think carefully about that stuff. But that's also an encouraging thing, going back to what we talked about, what you said about building passive income and having these products that will keep on selling even after the initial launch. And that's good to know, and I've heard other pattern companies say this as well, is that sometimes my sewing patterns have better overall sales number the second year than the first year. And it's not, of course there's a big jump when on the release day, of course you sell more patterns, and then it dips quite, it's interesting because in just a few days, the sales trails off quite a bit. So that's also always easy to feel a little bit discouraged, because you might sell several dozens of sewing patterns on the launch day, and then maybe it's just a couple of sewing patterns a day in a matter of days. For a sewing company, but my size, of course, bigger companies will have better numbers, but also I'm sure other companies will have less sales than I do, and But the encouraging thing is that over time, I still sell all my sewing patterns. I released my first garment pattern in 2019, the Isla leggings, and it still sells a couple of patterns a month. I mean, not huge numbers, obviously, but considering it's a 5-year-old pattern. So I think as a sewing pattern designer, if you have the endurance and are able to build up a good, solid library of fairly timeless sewing pattern that has a bigger appeal over time, I think you will be able to actually get to a nice extra income at least. But you have to be like patient and not have too much expectations of your first or your second year as a sewing pattern company. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, that's interesting to hear, and I think my theory behind that a pattern can sell more the second year compared to the first one, is everyone who is sharing their makes on social media, tagging the pattern company, using the hashtags for whatever the pattern is like organic marketing through social media, and that's the beauty when people do that. That it really helps. It's not just nice for a designer to see their make on a actual person and hear that somebody likes it, but it actually helps us smaller companies with marketing. So it's if you do that, know that a designer is like super happy doing happy dance. Whenever they see it.
Yeah, so important. Yeah, because it brings back to the point that we said earlier, that's the best way to get traction on a sewing pattern, is that someone gives it the stamp of approval. Someone that is not you, because you can only do so far. You can put out really nice pictures and stuff like that, but until people have someone that they like and enjoy or trust, see them sewing. So yeah, it's incredibly important. You bring a really good point there. I'm sure that's why as well. So you have to wait for the long tail, I think it's called, this phenomena that over time, you build up this massive library of your creations, and just you have to sit out and wait. There will be hardly any overnight success, but over time, yeah, and that's a wonderful thing. I think we will look back on all the things that we accomplished with great pride. Sometimes you don't feel it, or because you're like, you're always on to the next thing, right, Malena? That's how we work in our brains. When we always are more excited about the next project, but but it's nice to actually go back and look at all the things that we have accomplished, both of us in doing this. And yeah, it's that we kept going, even though it hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine.
That's the benefit of working with your own passions. It keeps you going.
Yeah, it definitely. It's so nice to say that, and even sometimes you feel like maybe I should quit, but then we don't. We just keep going. Yeah. So, any other things, Malena, we should give our listeners an update about on this episode? Any things that you want to share?
No, I think we covered it all. I at the moment is doing 100% freelance work, so it's not a lot happening on my own for my own projects. But yeah, it's I think it was nice, great topics we talked about today. It was so interesting to hear our thoughts about it, and exciting to see everything that will happen from your side now.
Yeah. So definitely stay tuned and keep listening to this podcast, because it's going to be a lot of updates. Some may be very happy, and some be. I think the spoiler is now is Johanna will not be able to keep her timeline as always. But
well,
stay
then
tuned.
You pivot, and then you make new timelines. No problem with that.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear your voice of reason all the time, and then I always have to talk me down because you're much more realistic when you do stuff than I am. Oh yeah. Well, anyways, thank you so much for listening, and hope you enjoyed this. Like when we lift the lid on things that goes on behind the scenes of running a small sewing company. And we love your support, and we're so grateful that you keep on listening to us every week. And we'll talk to you soon. And I am Johanna Lundström.
I am Malena Hjerpe. Bye bye.
Bye bye.